So right now we have this line in the bottom left-hand corner, and this is 4 feet long. This is going to be a stud, so now we have to get the thickness of it. Okay, studs are your 2x4s. We're just going to make this 2 inches tall, and we're actually going to draw that out. Now you guys, we need to draw it up 2 feet. Okay, but in order to do that, we need to do some math. You got it. We need to do some math. So right now we have this dimension is technically a 2x4, 2 inches. On an actual 2x4, it does not measure to 2 inches. Does anybody know what it measures to?
2 feet.
No.
2 inches.
Bottom of the 2x4.
Because we have this bottom stud and then this top stud, both adding up to 3 inches of the actual nominal size, we're going to have to subtract that 3 inches from the 3 feet, and that's how we come up with 2 feet 9 inches. So from the top of this stud, or the top of this plate at the bottom, you're going to go up 2 feet 9 inches. So I'm going to draw this stud in there. And that stud is going to be 2 feet 9 inches. Again, I'm going to continue on this top plate. Finalize that.
Is that the same length as the one on the bottom?
It is the exact same length, yes, as the one on the bottom. Then I'm going to draw the stud on the right hand side.
Are we still doing the 1 or the half inch?
You're still using your 1-inch scale in order to put in those studs. You're going to continue putting those in, going all the way across
16 inches.
that gap. These studs are going to be 16 inches apart. And
Well, this thing right here is a foot in inches, right?
Explain that from this point to the far side of the stud, that is going to be your 16 inches on center. So you're starting from the right hand side of the first stud and going to the right hand side of the second stud in order to get this to be 16 inches on center. Because if you slide the dimension points over from center of the stud to the center of the stud, that's how you're going to get 16 inches on center. You're going to draw and make sure it lines up. So I'm going to draw some lines going straight up. And this is going to be the top of this 4-foot section. We have the top on this section here. This is the top of your actual wall section. We're going to have to make the corner section of it now. And that is only going to go out 2 feet. So we're going to have a corner. And that's what I drew right here. Now again, it's not actually 2 feet long that we are drawing that. We need to do some math again. In order to make and find the distance here, we need to incorporate this distance in here. And what do we know is that distance? It's not 1.5 because we rotated the stud on the long ways now, or the wide way. I heard it. It's going to be your 3.5. So this top stud, let me highlight it. This area right here, in this area right here, we are now looking down at the top of the wall. And if you remember from your top plate, that's the wider part of the stud. And he told me the nominal size of that is what again?
1.5 by 3.5.
It's 1.5 by 3.5, so the wider area is going to be your what?
1.5.
3.5. So that's your wider area. So all of these thicknesses here are going to be your 3 1/2 inches. So here as well as here. So if you made this area on the top view here only at the 1.5, you'll need to change that to the 3.5. Okay, so go ahead and do that now, please. Overall dimension from this corner up to the very top, this is going to be 24 inches. Or that equals 2 feet. We already have the 3.5 inches taking up area. So what do we need to do?
Subtract it.
We need to subtract it. You got it. So we're going to take that 24 inches minus the 3.5 inches.
21.5.
That's going to equal what?
40.
So 20.5 inches is what we need to come up with. So that's what the dimension of x is equal. So in order to draw out where the studs are in this top view, you're just going to really line up from the front view. See these dotted lines here? You're just going to shoot these two arrows up, and then you're just going to draw little dash marks in your top view. So you're going to do that for all of these studs here. And we're going to start drawing that right hand side. So you just kind of line it up on the graph paper. You're going to draw your bottom. This is going to be your bottom plate of that little leg coming out plus the front here.
How long do you want it?
How long is the overall on the top view? 24 inches. You got it. It's only going to be 24 inches.
1/8.
This area right here is going to be 3.5 inches. And then this direction, to this area here, from the right, that is going to be your 20.5. I'm going to write 20.5, but you know it's 20.5. Our height for this stud coming straight up, that's just going to be exactly like in our front view. It's not going to be any different. It's going to line up with the exact same stud as that front view. The only difference is that is now the side of the stud, or the wider side. So how wide is that going to be? The 3.5 inches. Very good. So that's going to be your 3.5 inches, and that's going to line up with this block here.
It's going to line up with that line.
It's going to line up with that line, exactly.
Really thick.
Then we're going to put that top plate on. We're going to go up our 1.5 inches. Come across, make sure it lines up. And that is now our top plate. And then we're going to close that up with a stud. Now remember, we're seeing this section.
Is it 2.5? That thickness? 1.5?
This is going to be your 1.5. The top plate's your 1.5 thickness.
Oh, the same length as the bottom one.
It's the same length as this bottom one. Very good. So this area in here is that back area. So we're dealing with the narrower thickness. That I also have this small line here showing the end of that 2x4 coming at us, and then we're going to close this off. One more stud to this right hand section. You're going to measure off. Our studs are always 16 inches on center. We're going to start from the far right hand side, and we're going to work our way in. There's not going to be much space, but there's still going to have a stud that you put in there.
How thick?
That's going to be a 1.5 inch thick stud.
What if you start from the right?